Hello, it's Auret here from essetinomedia, helping you create profitable content. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to create a lead magnet graphic in Photoshop. Now, lead magnet has many different names. It could be called an opt-in, freebie. Basically, what a lead magnet is that free piece of value, that free guide that you offer in exchange for someone's email address on your website. So having a graphic like this, like one of the ones that you see here on the screen, is really great to include next to your email opt-in box because it entices the person to opt in because they get to see a little bit of what they'll be getting once they give you your email address. So let me show you how to create one of these. It's super easy to do. And all you need is the PDF, the free guide that you are offering, as well as Photoshop. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is create a square blank canvas within Photoshop. That's what we're going to use to create our graphic. So I'm going to go to File, New, and then you can choose this one, or actually this one right here is good enough. So where it says 1200 by 1200 pixels, or what you can also do is just type in 1200 by 1200 right here. 72 DPI or resolution is totally fine. And then you can hit create. But I'm just going to use their presets here. So I'll click on 1200 by 1200 and then hit create. And it's going to create the square canvas that you see right here. So what we want to do is bring in the pages into Photoshop, a couple of the pages, so that we can manipulate them and do something like this, for example, that I showed you. And the way to do that is we first have to export each one of our pages as a JPEG or a PNG. This is something that's totally easy to do as well. You'll need to open up your PDF first, the PDF guide. So this is the 12 ready to film YouTube video ideas guide that we have, which is right here. Just find it on your computer or your laptop and open the PDF up. All right, so I've done that here. And I'm going to go to File, Export to, Image, and then select JPEG. So it's going to ask you, where do you want to save this as a JPEG? I think just in here is fine in the documents, or actually let's do it in the desktop, and then I'll hit save. And you'll see here, it's going to export each single page as a JPEG. And in this case, I have 11 pages within this guide. So it's going to export all 11 pages. And I'll just minimize all of this right here. And you can see here, all 11 pages are exported right here as JPEGs. So we're going to bring in a few of those, maybe four of those pages, and you'll want to choose the most enticing pages. So let me show you how to bring that into Photoshop. I'm going to click back into Photoshop, go to File, Place Embedded, and then select on your computer, and we're going to go select those pages which are on the desktop. And unfortunately we can only select one at a time, not multiple. So I'm going to start off with the cover page and just double click on that. It's going to bring that in. I'm going to hit check mark, and then we're going to do the same thing to bring in a couple of other sample pages. So again, File, Embed, Place Embedded. I'm going to choose this one, and then it's going to put it behind. Oh, it's actually putting it on top. That's fine. Let's hit check mark. We'll fix the orientation of these and everything right after. Right now, we're just bringing in whatever pages we want to use. And typically the pages that I'll go for are ones that have different unique designs. Like you can see here, all of these are pretty much the same design, so I won't bring in multiple of those. I'll just bring in one of them. And for this example, we'll have 3 pages, but you can bring in more if you like. I would say max 5 pages. Don't go over that because then it gets to be too condensed. All right, so we want the cover page to be on top and the other 2 pages behind. So the first one that we brought in was the cover page. In my layers box here, I'm going to click that layer and drag it up. And now that one is the layer on top. So I'm going to just move that aside and click and move this one as well so we can kind of see all of the pages here at once. Now from here you can decide what orientation you want to fan them out in. So if I go back to the 2 examples here, you can see here I did one like this, where the cover page is in the front and you have the two fanning behind. And this over here, you can have the cover page right here and the other page is fanning behind. I would say this one is the best if you're using 3 pages. And if you have 4 or 5, this one's good to go because then you can see more of the pages back there. So let's create this one right here since it's the 3 pages. So the cover page is right in the center. So I'm just clicking and dragging it with the move tool right here. And then what we want to do is place this other one kind of off to the side here. And you can see here when I'm clicking and dragging these pages, you see the pink lines? It's kind of snapping into place. And I have that setting on. If you don't have that setting on, you can turn it on just by going View and then Snap and selecting that. Make sure it has a check mark beside it. I find them very helpful because right off the bat I can see that everything is aligned properly and centered. So that's why I choose to use that. All right, so once I've done that, now what we want to do is slightly tilt each one of these pages. Like you can see, slightly tilted on each side. So let's start with this one. I'm going to click on that, go to Edit, Transform, and Rotate. So when I see that little curved arrow, you can see here my cursor is a curved arrow. I'm going to click and slightly drag that towards the left, and I think right about there is good. And by the way, if you wanted to make these pages smaller, you could do that as well by, let's hit the check mark to save that. I can go to Edit, Scale, and right here, I can click and drag the corners. But you see here, actually, this is a tip for you. You see how it distorts the page and it kind of squishes it and skews it? If you want to keep those dimensions so that it doesn't distort the image, I'm just going to go undo, Control Z. You want to hit Shift on your keyboard first and then click one of these corners and drag them into place. And that way it keeps the dimensions of that right there. So that looks good. I'm going to move that back there and then hit the check mark and do the same thing over here for this. So hit Edit, we're gonna go Rotate. Again, I'm gonna click, drag it slightly to the right this time to fan it out in the opposite direction. And I also wanna make this slightly smaller, so let's hit the check mark, go back to Edit, Transform, Scale, hold down the Shift, and then click and drag inwards for one of these corners here. All right, and then I can now click and move this into place like so. Hit the check mark button to save that positioning, and now click over here. You can move them around accordingly as you see fit. You can move this in the center if you like. If there's some really good information on one of these pages that you don't want them to see because you want them to opt in, be aware of that as well. You can kind of orient these however you like so that you can hide that information. But something like this looks good. And then another cool little piece that I like to do is add a little bit of a drop shadow so it gives it that depth. And to do that, I just need to double click on the top layer, which is our cover image here. And I'll bring up this box. So where it says drop shadow, I'm going to click on that drop shadow, and then here I want to change the color. So I just clicked on it and drag this, click and drag to the bottom so that I'm choosing black. Hit OK, and just so you can see here, there's a little bit of a shadow below here, but I like it when it's slightly angled. So I'm going to click and drag this off to the side, all right, and make this drop shadow slightly bigger. So first click and adjust the distance so it's a little bit farther, and the sizing, I'm going to click and drag that so it gives a little bit of a shadiness to it. And of course we don't want it to be this dark, right? It's going to be a lot lighter and transparent, but right now it's at 100% opacity, so that's why it's black like that. So what I'm going to do is click and drag this down. So you can see here it has a nice drop shadow, and you can play with that however you like. Just very slightly is nice. I'm going to just minimize the spread of it as well and play with the angle. So you can play around with these dials as you see fit. Just a little bit is nice rather than something really big and standing out. So that's good. And now we want to apply them to these 2 pages as well. There's an easy way to do that so you don't have to play with these dials again for each page. So I'm going to hit OK. And now you see here there's a style layer, or a layer style to this, right? So we want to copy this. So I'm going to right click, copy layer style. And now I'm going to come to this layer, which is one of the pages, right click again, paste layer style. So you see how it added it to that one there? And then let's do the same thing for this page. I clicked on the layer, right click, paste layer style, and it added it a little bit there. So it might be slightly hard to see here since the pages are white. So let me change the background color here. I'll just add a quick little, this is just for your eyes only, a quick little square behind it so that you can see what it looks like. I'll just click and drag this. There you go. So now we can see the drop shadow a little bit better. You don't have to create that square there. It was just for I just created it for you so you could see the drop shadow there. But ideally you don't want to have a solid color background here because you're going to place this image on top of whether it's your opt-in form or in your website somewhere. So it's better if it's cleaner and it has a transparent background. So I'm just going to hide this one. And once you're happy with it, you're good to save it, and that's it. So we're going to go to File, Save As, and you want to save 2 files. The first one's going to be the PSD file, which is the editable file that you can always come back and make changes. For example, if you wanted to add another page later or change the orientation of it. So you're going to go to, I like to save on my computer instead of the Creative Cloud. So I'm going to click here and then just save it over here. Make sure it says Photoshop PSD file. So that's the editable one. That's file number 1. Click OK. We're going to now go File, Save a Copy. And then we're going to save it as a PNG. So where it says Save as Type, click this and go to PNG. And then right here, we're going to save that. You can change the name if you like and hit Save. So now what we want to do, I'll show you the 2 files that come up. I saved it to my desktop. So I now have the PSD file, the editable file, and also this one right here, which we just created. And that's the image file that you can now go and embed on your website to entice people to opt into your email list. If you need help with creating a graphic like this or any other digital graphic assets for your brand, I'd be happy to help. I'll include my contact information below in the description so you can reach out to me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.